Tables turned, lessons learned, my best look. You jump sides on me, now you're about to meet Westbrook. Oh, here goes. And welcome to the 93rd episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is back on the mic. And as usual, please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to our podcast. And as always, I'm back, joining my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's good, man?
Yo, what's up? What was your name again?
My name, oh man, I can't remember, bro.
It's been so long, mate, yeah, and no, it's great to have you back, mate. As much as we've loved having these special guests for the last 4 episodes, actually, I've kept things going in your absence. Hopefully I did an okay job, but no, it's awesome to have you back, mate. How was the trip?
Yeah, it was good. Before I get in that, I'll just give a shout out to Kendrick Lamar. I just referenced The Heart Part 4, one of his tracks where he referenced Russell Westbrook. So I just got to call that out. But the trip was awesome, brother. I managed to go to multiple countries, so Holland, Wales, England, Frankfurt, Germany, and India. So, and to see family, watch the World Cup, a Cricket World Cup, a great event, was amazing, man. But yeah, it's just good to be back home after a month away, brother. Thanks for...
Well, I felt like we've asked a lot of our special guests the last few weeks, but you might as well say it as well. How was your party of the century, your 40th, right? Because you literally had the party and you flew out the next day overseas, right?
Unreal, man. Just to have everyone together. Obviously, all the guest hosts over the last 4 weeks were present at that party of mine, so it was really nice to have them there. 100 plus people attended. I couldn't ask for a better day. Thanks for doing all the emceeing duties, man. You're unreal. You and Lala. So I really appreciate that.
Shout out to Lala. And rumours are you haven't even opened your presents yet. You might be opening them in a few days or something. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I just got back, a couple of days ago, man. So I haven't had a chance yet. So they're all locked up at my mum and dad's house. So
nice.
I'll open them on the weekend, right?
Very cool.
All right. Hey, one thing before we get into it, man. I got to tell you something that really grinds my gears.
Well, you gonna have a rant to start the show, are you?
We are. Okay, so let's talk about it. The starters have talked about it. The no dunks guys have talked about it. Plain etiquette, bro. So we're gonna go on this big trip, right? We're gonna go to Atlanta, LA. We're gonna go to Vegas, right? And you're a big guy, right? A tall guy, a tall man. What are your thoughts on people putting their seat in economy class all the way back? You think that's fair? You think there's an unwritten law that people should put it only a little way back? Yeah? Yeah,
it's definitely one of those unwritten rules. I think you should probably ask the person behind you if that's okay if you do it. Potentially when they turn all the lights off in the cabin, maybe that's the time to do it there, but not like the whole time when people are eating and doing other sort of stuff like that. But I'm gathering that annoyed you on your trip, yeah?
Unbelievably. And look, Indians, man, I love Indians. I'm Indian myself, but they've got no sense of... manners, right? They're all like just pushing to get into the line first. So the guy sitting in front of me, he puts his seat back straight away when I get in, right up in my face, right? And I'm respectful, there's an old woman behind me, right? So I'm not going to put my seat back, I've got the smallest bit of room. The air hostess comes and says, listen, man, you got to have your seat upright for takeoff, right? So he does it. The minute the seatbelt sign goes off, he puts his seat back again. And then they're coming to serve us meals and stuff, bro, right? And you can't eat. You already got to tuck your elbows in when you're eating, on those planes with your seat right back in your face. And she's like, look, we're having meal service now, right? And she puts it back up. So I just think there's a little bit of etiquette there that you can put it back a little bit, not the whole way back, and then you also ask the person behind you if that's all right with them. It's just respect to do that, right?
I'm sure we've got that to look forward to for our big trip next year. But fair call.
I heard you booked the seats right at the front, though, right? For us on one of the.
Well, one of the flights we've got some like kind of exit row, extended room sort of thing, and you know how much I've been doing the planning. I actually booked some tickets today to see the new look LA Clippers. So we'll probably talk a little bit about it in the show. But yeah, I'm on countdown mode now, mate. It's still quite a few months away, but anyway, it's something to look forward to.
Awesome, man. Really looking forward to it. Okay, so enough of my rant. Without further ado, let's get into it, man. As always, let's kick off the show with our jerseys for the day. So what you got for us?
Sounds good. Well, look, again, I did think about doing an NBL theme. I was going to do a Wildcats jersey, but I'm a little bit annoyed with them at the moment, so no.
I don't blame you, man.
So I've got a pretty random one today. I've got a double Brooklyn Nets sort of jerseys today. So the one I'm wearing today, Woods, this is a very random one that I've wanted to wear, the whole time on the show. We're now up to episode 93, so I'm rocking it. But before I talk a little bit about this one, I want to talk about the one that's hanging up. So no, it's not a Patty Mills jersey, even though it's the same number 8 that Patty Mills wore. It's a Deron Williams black Adidas Nets jersey. So kind of a name that I think everyone's forgotten, right, Woods? And just a little bit about him if people have forgotten Mr. Williams there. So 12 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Illinois by the Jazz at pick 3 in the 05 draft. Went on to play with the Jazz, Nets, Mavs and Cavs. Look, before retiring due to injuries, and let's be honest, Woods, pretty much a massive drop-off in form as well from someone that had been so damn good. Still had a really great resume, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, two-time All-NBA second team, won a couple of gold medals representing the US. And look, I'm sure you remember, Woods, for several years he was in that regular fan discussion of who you would prefer out of him and Chris Paul. And I, for one, was definitely on team Deron Williams there. I'm still not a fan of Chris Paul, as you know. So it was one of those drafts as well. So I wasn't so high, however, on the guy that was drafted 1 pick after Bogut and 1 pick before the 2 gun point guards. None other than Marvin Williams, who our Hawks took at pick number 2 before these 2 amazing point guards. So for those that probably don't remember Marvin Williams, I don't blame you. He was nothing more than pretty much a role player. Someone that ended up having a longer sort of career, but, considering we could have had Williams or Chris Paul, that's definitely a draft pick that still haunts me a little bit now. So Williams is still only 39 years of age, currently involved in MMA and boxing, so a little bit of a blast from the past. Now I'm going to show you the one that I'm wearing. This is an absolute custom jersey. They weren't selling this one in the store there, and shout out to all our Filipino fans for this one too, right?
I love this guy. It's a great classic jersey. A Brooklyn 0 Andray Blatche jersey. Had a solid NBA career, but again, like Deron Williams, a little bit faded out and really left the league much quicker than we expected, right?
100%, yeah. This is, when it comes to random jerseys, Woods, this is up on the list, this one there. I've always sort of liked this one. I've worn this one to a Kings game once and got comments and some random looks and stuff like that. But a little bit on Mr. Blatche. I'm rocking his white Adidas Brooklyn Nets jersey. Played 9 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of high school by the Wizards at pick 49 in the 05 draft. So had a pretty solid career for pick number 49. Played with the Wizards and Nets before he finished his career in China, as well as becoming a naturalised citizen of the Philippines in 2014. He represented their national team on several occasions. He was also involved in the infamous brawl with the Boomers in 2018, which I'm sure you remember as well there, Woods. Look, Blatche probably didn't live up to his complete potential there. He was one of those guys that would feature in, Shaq and the Fool type things there. He was also known for being shot. He was actually carjacked 3 months after being drafted, shot, and actually, lucky to survive that sort of shooting there. So definitely no accolades or awards for Mr. Blatche there, Woods. But look, he did have career averages of 10 points, 5 rebounds, and a career high of 36 points. So definitely someone that was, could definitely play the game. And someone that I really liked. I really liked the big man. He had plenty of skills there. But what were your memories of Andray Blatche?
I just remember him being a player at the end of the bench, not getting much court time, and then one season he just blew up, and then he had backed it up. I think it was maybe late 2000s. I think
he averaged nearly 17 a game that season or something you're talking about. Yeah.
No, I think he started off at maybe 9 or 10, and then worked his way up, and then I think his highest he was about 17 and 8 rebounds, and he was a fantasy beast as well in that year. I remember. I think I picked him up off the waiver wire one year, so I was pretty pleased with that. But I really liked his effervescent personality. He played with passion, and I like what he brought to the table. Yeah.
And what about Deron Williams? I know you would have been team Chris Paul when it came to those comparisons, but he was a baller back in the day, wasn't he?
He was a baller, man. I really at Utah, especially on those Jerry Sloan team, man. Love D. Will, man. Well, even the Brooklyn version of D. Will was solid. He faded out really quickly. I'll tell you a funny story about a girl who came out not too long ago and told a story about D. Will when he was at college, right? Apparently, there's a couple of girls they thought D. Will was real cute, right? And one of them went up to D. Will and said, "Hey, D. Will, Deron, my friend wants to make out with you." And you know what Deron Williams said?
What's that?
He said, "Yo, Deron Williams doesn't like to make out with bitches. He likes to another expletive, the B word."
Fair enough.
And I'm like, oh man, this guy had a bit of ego, right? He thought
he did. Right? He probably had his pick of anyone going back then as well, didn't he? But he was an interesting guy, wasn't it? It does seem like he faded out. I was looking at that and like Cleveland, I cannot picture him wearing a Cleveland jersey. I think that was only maybe a half a season there with the Cavs, but interesting nevertheless.
Well, at least he stayed in competitive sport and whatnot since, and he can look back on his career fondly. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Ooh, now that is a tough one, isn't it? What did I say? A 3-time All-Star? Ooh, That is a good one. I'd say probably not. We always do that Mitch Richmond test there. Mitch Richmond did end up a champion there, probably played more All-Star games. So I'd say probably not, which is a shame, isn't it, given how well he started his career. I think he had a couple of 50-point games as well, maybe playing for Utah. And yeah, that's a good question, actually, one that we could probably talk about at a later date. Before you get into yours, are you rocking new headphones as well tonight? What's the go?
Okay, there's one birthday present I did.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice.
Did actually open. This is from my wife, right? She's like, I'll get you a new pair of them Dre Beats. So you like them? They're looking good.
Yeah,
huh?
they look good. They look good
with the jersey and the hat, right?
Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone about this jersey, which is a bit of a special one, right?
I'll stand up, man.
Cool. So Woods will stand up. We're in the number 12 Washington Wizards Xavier Cooks jersey. You guessed it. There is a Xavier Cooks jersey. Looks good, Woods.
Speaking of presents, I'm wearing 2 presents today, not just my headphones. Who got me this jersey?
I think I might have been the MC of your party there. Yeah, I custom ordered that one for you, didn't I? So I'm glad it all arrived in time and that, but didn't quite work out how we planned, did it, for this one?
It didn't, and you look at the Wizards today and how much they lost by. They released Xavier Cooks, so obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, all of our listeners will know that Xavier Cooks was released, from his contract. Now he signed a guaranteed contract for this year and an overall deal that was non-guaranteed for up to 4 years. My question to you is, why commit to this guy? Bring him in your summer league, bring him in for the last 12 games of last season on potentially a long-term deal, only to waive him at the start of the season.
Do you reckon maybe that lack of shot of his was a real deal breaker once they tried to get him in? They needed more than that, defensive hustle and rebounding. That maybe he just wasn't showing any progression with his shot. I don't know. I'm only speculating there, but yeah, it was a surprise, wasn't it? The Jack White one, I don't think that was a big surprise, but the fact that Cooks had signed this deal, and I thought he actually had some signs as well in those games late last year, and with a team this year that's probably not trying to win either. So
I don't see the problem in just keeping him on the roster. Look at some of the names on that Wizards roster this year, right? I'm like, they passed up on X, right? And I think he could have actually given them some tenacity, some grit. He's he's actually an experienced head on that young roster, despite only being new to the NBA.
Hey, he was solid in the World Cup as well, right? Yeah. So surely there would have been some eyes on him then. So yeah, it is a shame, and he's now kind of in limbo, isn't he? The NBL's 6 weeks in, the NBA started now, Europe sort of teams are set, so you wonder where he'll actually end up to play this season.
I think he will get an opportunity in the NBA at some stage, maybe the back half of this season. I would think that staying around in the G League like Jack White might be a good option for him, because a 10-day might come calling.
Where's guys like Chase Buford and who's the coach that the Kings had before them? Is he still around? Have they maybe some connections there? Is it Houston?
Yeah.
Where's Chase Buford? I don't even know where he's actually at now.
Sure, actually.
So you wonder if those guys, if anyone could vouch for someone like Cooks, it could be the coach that coached him to an MVP type season or MVP season there. So
kind of what happened with Jayshawn Tate there with Weaver, right? So
yeah, true.
He's Chase Buford.
Did Weaver coach him as well for a season? Or?
I don't think so.
It might have been a bit pre that, yeah. But yeah, fingers crossed he does find a home, because I think he deserves a shot there for sure.
So Chase hasn't got a job yet since he left the Kings, so I'm not sure what he's up to.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, without further ado, let's get into it, man. A lot to talk about, right?
We do.
Now, I turned up to record this episode today with you, right? I was ready. I'd been away for 4 weeks. People weren't 100% sure where in the world I was. And you know what he said to me? He said, Woody, pack your bags, go home, right? I'm talking about James Harden being sent home at the airport when he walked up to play his first game this season. And he was demanding a trade to the Clippers. And we were wondering if that would happen. And today it actually happened. So just to quickly take you through the trade before you want to comment on it. The Philadelphia 76ers have traded James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philippe Petrusev to the Los Angeles Clippers. And in exchange, the Sixers will receive Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, multiple draft picks, and a pick swap. And actually, Danny Green was actually waived by the Sixers to make room for this trade. So, speak on it, man. Speak on it.
Well, mate, talk about hot off the press. So, yeah, it's Tuesday the 31st. Happy Halloween to everyone out there that's a fan of such things. It literally happened less than 3 hours ago, this trade. I think I might have broke the news on our some of our many sort of threads we've got there. It just came out a Woj, basically Woj bomb saying Harden had been traded. It was about 2 in the morning over in the East in America there. So people were trying to find out who it was, and you've obviously said those names there. Look, I've got to say, Clippers did okay. They didn't give up too many draft picks. They didn't give up Terrence Mann, who they pretty much said was untouchable in these Harden trades. I know a brother of mine that'll be very happy about Morris being traded because absolutely couldn't stand that bloke. You're giving up someone like Batum, who's, he's still a decent role player, but his best days are well behind him. And Robert Covington, I think if people are excited about him going to Philly, they haven't seen him play the last few years. He's dropped off a cliff lately, that guy. Seriously, his D isn't as good. His shot's very unreliable. The guy's, got to be, early 30s now. So I think you've probably seen the best of Rocco there. But yeah, I think that the Clippers did it right. I think the PJ Tucker one's a sneaky little addition there. The fact that they haven't had to give, multiple draft picks to get someone like this back is exciting. We should say as well, Woods, the very first game of NBA that I'll be attending, and I actually hooked up some tickets today, is none other than the Clippers at home playing Philadelphia. So it's going to be Harden's first game against his old team there. So looking forward to that one. We know Kawhi will probably sit out that game, but hopefully we'll see the big four they've got now, right? So hopefully we'll see a couple of those big four. But what's your thoughts on that? The big four. We've got Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. That's pretty solid, right?
Well, we know James Harden is a difficult personality to deal with. We've seen that with Houston, we've seen that with Brooklyn, and obviously with the 76ers, right? But what you have at the Clippers is you've got Tyronn Lue, who's probably a good coach for him, someone who knows how to manage big personalities. Then you've got Russell Westbrook, who's a longtime friend of his. They have history going way back to the times at OKC. And a sneaky good acquisition there is PJ Tucker as well, coming along. I know he's at the end of his career, but you got those big superstars. You need someone who'll be the glue guy, do a little bit of that dirty work. So I think the Clippers have actually sneakily done well getting PJ Tucker over there in that trade. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. Obviously, if the likes of Kawhi and Paul George take some time off or have some injury issues, they've got two other really good guys there that can step up in their absence and keep the boat, keep the ship sailing in the meantime. So that's going to be huge for them, right? I
think good they managed to hold on to Zubac as well. I think he's an important player there if you're getting deep into these playoff rounds. He's a big physical centre there that can rebound and block shots. So didn't have to give up him, didn't give up Terrence Mann, who's kind of, I still feel like we're waiting for that breakout season for him. Not sure if it will happen playing behind all these guns there, but he's someone that on his day, and especially if some of these guys are injured or sitting out games, that can put up some numbers there. So I think they've done pretty well. And look, I think if you look at the Philadelphia situation, they didn't have a choice, did they, Wills? They had to do this trade now. So Harden's got his own way again. This will be his fourth team since 2021, which is just remarkable, isn't it? He got his way again. He forced his way out pretty much to the team that he wanted to go. So that's the modern day NBA, I guess, right?
Well, here's a take for you real quickly, man. What do you think about Harden starting with Terrence Mann, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Zubac, and Westbrook moving to the bench? Are
you going to be the one to tell Westbrook that? Or?
No, I'm not going to tell him
that.
No,
I don't want to tell him either.
He's got a right attitude now. After he went to Lakers and he was willing to accept that role, I think that could be better for this team because that'll give that second unit a little bit.
What about Harden playing that six-man role like he sort of embraced those early days in OKC? I mean, he was a great six-man coming off the bench. Those Fear the Beard sort of early seasons there. I mean, I don't know whether his ego will stand for that as well, but geez, wouldn't that be a good player to come on and really handle the ball and sort of facilitate the offense and everything?
Do you want to tell Harden that?
No, I don't either. No, let's just start both of them, right?
For sure. But I'm excited to see how it plays out. Really exciting. The Western Conference changes shape here right away, right? So
big time, yeah.
All right. So let's move on, man. I want to talk a little bit about the rookies and what you've seen so far this year. Obviously, Wemby's been, he's been up and down. I think he's been impressive enough.
Yeah.
We've talked about offline. We've talked about Scoot Henderson's struggles. Talk to me. Is there any other rookies that have stood out for you? What do you think about the aforementioned two?
Well, I'll talk about those two in a sec. Brandon Miller's the one for me. That I probably noticed him. I've got him on a couple of my fantasy teams, so I have noticed him. He's a really good three-point shooter. He's been very consistent in the game so far. I watched the whole game against the Hawks, and he was a real spark for them. They got the win over the Hawks there, so he's been a plus for me. Obviously, the big man's been looking pretty good. Yeah, Wemby's been solid. I mean, I think he's going to... It's hard on the Spurs, right? They don't have a great team. We saw him go down by 40 to the Clippers yesterday, so that's going to impact numbers and that. I know like you said, we did talk a little bit about Scoot. He has been a bit disappointing for me. His shot hasn't looked good. I think he's probably got about as many turnovers as he does assists. Looked a little bit better today in their win, but yeah, he's still got a way to go, and I think they're probably lucky they've got someone like Brogdon playing there. But I mean, look, it's early days. I think all those guys only played over 3 or 4 games. But, yeah, it's great to have that buzz around a pretty good rookie class this year, right?
Yeah, definitely. You speak of Brandon Miller. He was mic'd up today on the game, and I was listening to him. He just seems like an all-round good guy, great attitude. And a guy, he can rebound the ball as well and stroke it. So I really like what he brings to the table. And Charlotte's going to be a fun League Pass team to watch.
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, right?
I'm not just saying that because they beat the Hawks, but those guys play, right? That big Mark Williams is decent. Gordon Hayward's looked pretty good so far as well. He's looking back
Washington,
to Washington good ball. No, they've got an interesting team, don't they? So, yeah.
For me, it's the Thompson twins, man. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the documentary we just watched quickly before I get into it? Right?
Yeah, so the Overtime Elite, was it Paramount? It's on Paramount, I think.
It's on Amazon Prime, yeah?
Amazon. Of course, if you don't want to pay for those streaming services, you just download a torrent like I do. But, really interesting show, wasn't it? It was a little documentary on the Overtime Elite. Alex got a couple of highlights on there. It was pretty much all about the Thompson twins. How many sort of guys we know, right? You know, Damien Wilkins, Dominique's brother, the general manager. We saw a guy like Ryan Gomes, one of the coaches. Who else was there, right? There was a couple of other guys that were sort of had played in the league and everything that were sort of on that documentary. But, yeah, I recommend that. It was a good watch, I thought, Overtime Elite. But, yeah, the Thompson twins have certainly got some talent, don't they? I can't tell them apart. I have no idea which one's which, but, yeah.
Look, Asar and Amen, one of them's a much better playmaker than the other, and the other one does all the dirty work. But these guys have put up great numbers, man. I think... Yeah. Amen or Asar's got about 32 rebounds in the first 3 games. One of them had 5 blocks in the first game. So, I mean, both of them on Houston and Detroit, correct? But they're right. Houston and Detroit, man. Love what they're bringing to the table so far. And I think go watch the documentary, and they were highly touted to be lottery picks, and that they would be ready to make an impact right away in the league. You got these wing guys that can fly around, do all the different things on the court. It really bodes well in the league. So I've been really excited to watch those two.
Absolutely. Agreed. Yeah.
All right, man. I got my Hawks hat on. We haven't done Hawks talk in a while. 2 wins in 2 days. Okay, we always play good against Milwaukee. Big win against Milwaukee yesterday. And then your Minnesota Timberwolves, you're very high on. Are you still high on them after today?
Well, I am. They look good for half a game. Shout out to Naz Reid, who's been looking pretty good so far in the first week, at 26 a couple of days ago. But yeah, look, I wasn't too concerned after we had that 0-2 start. Like you said, I've been saying for a good couple of seasons now we match up well against Milwaukee. I don't know, Double O on Onyeka Okongwu always seems to play well against Giannis. Trey was good against Milwaukee even when a good defender like Holiday was there. We managed to shut out Dame Lillard in that game. And got to say, I watched all 4 Hawks games from start to finish there. Loving our depth. I can kind of see why they got rid of John Collins now. It just frees up more minutes for 2 younger guys there in Sadiq Bey and Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's been really good. I've been high on this guy for a while now, right? I think he's really turned the corner. He's in contention for most improved, I think. I know it's only 4 games, but his role there, the fact that he can play at both ends. I mean, they were playing him on Rudy Gobert for a couple of possessions today as well, so he can guard pretty much 4 positions out there. DJ today, right? Your boy DeJounte Murray with a career high.
Man, he was on fire, right?
Yep. And that's it. I think Trey's still got some room to grow. Look, his shooting percentage has been a little bit down, but he's looked better. His confidence has been up the last few games, and really good to see, right? They were looking pretty. I think they might have been down about 20 against the T-Wolves today, and came back in a big run there. So, yeah, exciting. Patty Mills still hasn't seen the floor yet, which is a little bit disappointing, though.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that. Look, they've gone with the 9-man rotation, basically Bey, Okongwu, Bogdanovic, and really AJ Griffin gets a few spot minutes here and there. It's really an 8-man rotation. So I think Patty might not play unless we see an injury. But it's good thing that you bring up the whole John Collins leaving for Utah. I think the front office saw that Jalen Johnson was ready to take the next step.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And we're seeing that come to fruition. And what an athlete he is. I mean, some of those highlights that we've seen already, they're going to be some of the best dunks of the year by the end of the year already, right?
Yeah, that dunk on, I'm trying to think who it was against now, the one on the weekend when he dunked over a couple of guys there was just huge there. He's putting on highlight reel plays every game, so really like him. He's probably still a guy that not a lot of casual fans would know, but Jalen Johnson, put on a Hawks game and check the guy out.
I really like it how he catches the ball, in the open floor. He's able to put the ball on the floor, take it to the rack, and go downhill and attack, man. It's impressive, right? For a guy his size with that kind of skill set. I think obviously working on a shot is something he needs to do, but the potential and the room for growth is extremely high there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will be getting out to Atlanta, obviously, to watch a few games. I know you're really excited about that.
Yeah, look, I'm sure we'll talk about this 1 or 10 times over the next few months. But first Hawks game, we're going to see Hawks play against Portland. So, okay. The next 2 games are seeing Hawks Milwaukee and Hawks Boston. So the 2 teams with the highest win predictions for the season. So I'm so pumped to be seeing those. You can imagine that State Farm Arena crowd against a team like Boston will be absolutely going nuts. They've got a really good crowd these days, the Hawks. They're selling out nearly all their games and very loyal and loud crowd there. So they're going to be some great games there. And just can't wait to make that first appearance on the Hawks Hawks court. Well, not on the court, but near the court anyway.
For sure, man. Looking forward. So before we move on to the NBL, any other NBA headlines or anything you want to bring up quickly?
Well, for me, just some of these big individual scores we've had. It's interesting as well. I think we've only got 2 undefeated teams. I've got to say, shout out to the Mavs, right? Started off 3-0. Luka's been amazing. So I sort of said, maybe Luka might not make that first All-NBA team this year, strictly because I didn't think their record would be that good. But they're 3-0 and have looked really good. Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting really well. I think Kyrie's looked pretty settled, and the big fella inside Lively's been decent. Just some of these big individual scores there. We've seen Curry go for 40-plus in a couple of games. We saw Jalen Brunson hit 8 threes against the Hawks. And big shout-out to my boy Zach Lavine Woods, who got his career-high 51.
And 0 assists.
I was going to say that. So Zach Lavine has played four games this year, and he's had 5 assists total in 4 games. So it's around an average of, 1.25 or something like that. So he's putting up Yinkadare, that's the blast from the pass assist numbers there. But hey, you don't need to pass it when you're hitting that many shots. But that Chicago team's interesting. He scored 51 in that game, and they were barely struggling to score the whole game. But
the Chicago team called a players-only meeting after that.
After
51 points.
Yeah, and he's had some back issues as well. So I love it when the guy gets going as well. Of course, I've got him on, I think, 3 of my fantasy teams as well. I love the guy. So, yeah, great to see him.
I think all is not good in that locker room there. I get the point,
agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So, let's see how that plays out. All right, cool. A lot of exciting storylines in the NBA. Really looking to see how things play out, especially with this new trade we just spoke about for between the Clippers and the 76ers.
For sure.
Let's move on. NBL. I've been overseas, but I've been able to watch as many games as possible. Thanks to the NBL for streaming all the games live on YouTube.
Nice.
Last round. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. It was a big round, wasn't there? There was double headers pretty much every day there. I want to start with the Brisbane Bullets there, Wood. So maximum respect for the Bullets there. No one really gave them a shot. No Aaron Baines. They didn't have no Shannon Scott. So they're basically their little guy and their big guy, really important players. Their key players really were out there. And look, they beat Perth in Perth, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about, and then backed it up with an amazing win against Tasmania. And Tasmania, everyone was talking these guys up a week ago as being grand final chances. They're back to 4-4, and they're struggling a little bit. Tasmania, they're right back in the pack, and I think it shows you with how competitive this league is this year. Adelaide and Brisbane are 2 teams that have probably been a little bit better than some people thought. I know we'll talk about Perth in a little bit, Woods, but I've got New Zealand. I've got in brackets scot-free there, right? Because I think they've gotten a little bit scot-free there. I know everyone's like, look, they've had the NBA, NBL sort of games there, and I do agree. I don't know why you'd want to nominate to do that and go over there and cross all these time zones and flights, but they're pretty ordinary so far. 1-4. I think they've got a double this weekend, so they need to get back on track. They've had a little bit of bad, luck with injuries now. We saw Justin and Jessup basically had to get released because of his injury, and we see Zylan Cheatham. They haven't cut him, have they? They're still holding on to him. But
they're going to get a replacement. So
Glenn Rice Jr. maybe back again. Or?
See, no. It was interesting. Olgun was very high on them at the start of the season. He was saying these guys are going to probably be my favourites to win the championship. I never felt that. He's wound that back a little bit now, and he said, look, they're in trouble. If they lose the next 2 games, they could be 1-6. And it's hard to come back from that in that situation, right?
I've got to say, the law firm has been really good for him. I've enjoyed watching him play, but I think it's been at the expense of your boy, William McDowell-White. I just don't know that the 2 of those players kind of mesh well together, right?
That's what I said at the start of the season. Okay, you're getting a guy who's a great distributor of the ball. He's led leagues in assists, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing him to put him alongside William McDowell-White, right? And so that's kind of, they cancel each other out a little bit, right? So, if one succeeds, the other might not, right? So,
and didn't people say Mango Mathiang was going to be as good as Derek Pardon? Did I hear that somewhere, or am I imagining things?
Look, in fairness to Mango, right, when he played those NBA games, he was allowed to play with a bit of his physicality, right? The verticality rule is very well officiated in the NBA, right? In the NBL, it's not. He gets called for fouls straight away if he goes. He does get a lot of fouls, yeah. And I wish that the NBL was a little bit more lenient on the way they call games, right? So that these centers could make more of an impact. So it's a bit like a Deng Adele. Maybe this league isn't particularly where he'll succeed, but he'll go overseas and the game's officiated differently. He might have more success there. So it's not all on him, I don't think, right?
Fair call. I want to throw a question back on you, Woods, because I feel like I've talked a little bit too much about him. What's your thoughts on the Wildcats? What's going wrong in Perth, mate?
Look, the problem is, I was really high on them at the start of this year. I had them at the top of the table, right? Because I thought, look, you're lacking rebounding. You've got Saar, you've got Pinder, right? Play these guys, right? But then, you put, these guys, Jordan Usher, the Webster brothers, They all want to be the man.
Is that defensive player of the year, Jordan Usher, you're talking about? Or?
God, right? You come out there saying that, and if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. The problem is these guys all can't respect that Bryce Cotton is the guy that needs to, sort of have the ball in his hand and get the most shots, right? And these guys can eat after him, right?
Yeah.
It's also on John really a little bit, what about drawing up some pin down, some stagger screens?
Absolutely.
Get the guy open for some shots, right? I've said this before in our group chat before. It's a bit on really as well. It's also you have guys like Damian Martin, Mitch Norton, playing alongside. I actually like Doolittle. I know you're not very high on him, but he actually fits the mold of a Wildcats player that does all the dirty work, doesn't need to get his own. But I think the cast around him isn't right. And play both Saar and Pinder for extended minutes, man, right?
Yeah. How about Ben Henschel? How about perhaps giving him some minutes there? We showed he got 20 points in a game, in the second game of the year. My 2 cents on that, Woods, I do think really his rotations have been a little bit out of whack, but I think there's way too much blame going on him at the moment and not enough on the players, right? So he's not the one that's out there wearing that Bryce Cotton jersey, just bricking every shot he's taking. Cotton's got to get to the basket. He's relying too much on his outside shot. He's got to get to the line, get himself going early. So I don't think that's really his fault, the way he's sort of shooting there. Pinder's been a little bit up and down. He only had 1 rebound up until 3/4 time last week. Finished with some pretty good numbers there. But, Alex Saar, his role probably needs to be defined a little bit more. But Jordan Usher, I'd had a few drinks, fair enough, at your party after that first game, and I think I joked and said, he's the MVP. And I was definitely joking about that game. But, mate, he wouldn't be the MVP of the NBL 1 at the moment if he was playing the way he is. I don't know what the guy's doing. He didn't play that whole last quarter against Brisbane, which is pretty alarming there. But I'm not sure. I don't think it's as easy as sacking, really. The guy's got, more than I think we're a quarter of the way through the season now, aren't we, for some teams? So he's still got, till the end of next year under contract. We know the Perth owners basically leaking money everywhere at the moment. They can't afford to bring on a coach like Trevor Gleeson, who's going to command a big salary and still pay out Riley's salary. So I don't probably expect to see a move unless things do get really dire there. But the import one, and that's one that traditionally Perth have held on a little bit too long with making these changes there. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you need Usher on this team there. I think you could probably get someone that plays a bit of a better role, right?
Yeah, 100%, right? A better game manager, someone who's willing to sort of put Bryce Cotton and the likes of Pinder in positions to succeed, right?
Here's one for you, Woods.
Cotton, I've said it for years, right?
If you could have it this week for the Wildcats, if you could have Jordan Usher or Brady Manick, which one of those two would you pick? A tough one. I like Brady Manick for that role that he fills. Yeah, he wouldn't have either, but you know what I mean? If it came down to those two, I think he can fill a role a bit better, whereas Usher thinks he's the best player in the NBL, the way he sort of comes out there. And yeah.
I'd like it, like the Mitch Norton type, Shannon Scott even, Scotty Machado, that kind of guy who's willing to get the ball to and let others eat, right? Is one I think they need.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say it's partly on Cotton. You're right. It's also a little bit on like setting up some up some plays for him. Sure.
Would you start Alex Saar? A lot of people have been talking about that this week. Would you potentially start him?
No doubt. I'd start Henschel.
You'd start Henschel.
I'd start Henschel.
Start him. Wow. Okay.
I'd bring Usher off the bench. I'd start Henschel. Or even Zunic, one of the two. I don't
know. No. Now you're going too far.
Okay, all right. Maybe Henschel, right? I'd start Henschel, right?
Yeah.
You could play the point guard position. You could have Corey Webster, Bryce Cotton, maybe, and then the two bigs, right?
Your thoughts on Ty Webster Woods?
He's overpaid, man, right? And what's his flexing and carrying on when he makes a bucket, right?
Looks pretty bad, doesn't it? He should learn to make a jump shot before he actually sort of tries to taunt people and doing those sort of things. The guy's been pretty disappointing. I'm a big Corey Webster fan, but Ty Webster, he's not really growing on me. I don't think he's really growing with the Perth Wildcats fans as well from some of the things we're hearing out of Perth, right?
Yeah. And look, it's just to shake things up, man. Send these guys to the bench. Let them know that, look, if you're not going to play defense and you're not going to fit into the system and what we're trying to do here, you can sit for a while and we'll give another guy an opportunity, like a Henschel, right? So,
fair call.
And Cairns, for me, they're better than we thought, man. They should have really won that game against Illawarra, and if it wasn't for the Tyler Harvey buzzer beater. And they're without a lot of their guys. I mean, they're
a lot of guys.
They're without Taj McCall. They're without Armstrong.
What's the go with their third import? What's the deal with him?
Man, I've said it. What's the point of him even occupying an important spot on that roster?
It's weird, isn't it?
When he's playing 5-6 minutes a game, right? I like Josh Roberts. I mean, he put up good numbers in college, but I think he's a surplus of the needs of Adam Ford when he's got Gack, he's got Wardenberg.
Wardenberg's looked pretty good, actually, I reckon, the last few weeks.
Yep. Yeah, definitely he has. And look, they've got all bases covered, sort of there. You know what I mean? So I think that's and they've got Menenga as well now. So it's kind of like Josh Roberts kind of is behind those guys in the pecking order, right? So. I like them, so they're doing all right. And Kings, nothing to be too concerned about. I know we dropped a couple of games, but we're all right. Yeah.
And you've got DJ Hoke now back as well, so sort of play him into that lineup. Yeah, I think you guys will be fine there.
All right. Yep. Let's see how it goes. Big week for New Zealand. They got Cairns this week away. And Sydney away, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just go through the schedule and let me get some of your thoughts on what you think for the
Sounds
round
good.
ahead. Yeah.
So I've actually been fired from my slides duties, right? We're putting up the games of the round, so I'll retire my little job of doing that. I think you do a better job with that. That looks pretty good.
You did well, man. You did well. Okay, so let's get into it. So, sorry, I got the wrong...
Oh, see, I wouldn't have done that mistake if I was doing it, but no, cool.
So it's day after tomorrow, okay? On Thursday, we got Brisbane versus Southeast Melbourne Phoenix.
Yeah.
What are you thinking there?
Well, look, both teams in form, aren't they? You know, both going in on win streaks there. I think Southeast are really looking good with Big Sauce back in the lineup there. So I'd say this could be a close game, but I'll say Southeast do get the road victory in this one.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with you there. Let me ask you one quick shout out to Sauce, he's killing it. But one quick question to you: when Baines comes back, I don't know if he's back now or in a game or two, right? Yeah. Would you bring him off the bench because Harrison's doing a great job and that lineup's playing good together? Man,
I've got to say, shout out to Tyrell Harrison. He did a few things in that game against Perth last week that potentially I didn't know he had in his kit bag there. He's made a bit of improvement there. So what a three-headed monster though: Rocco, Tyrell Harrison, and Bainesy. I mean, that's three of the biggest guys you'll see in one team probably in NBL history there. So I reckon he will come straight back into the starting lineup there. But yeah, shout out to Tyrell Harrison though.
Yep, for sure. He's doing great, man. I really enjoy seeing him on the court after he's battled a lot of injuries over the last couple of years. Right?
Yeah.
So it's great to see. All right, on Friday we've got a double header. Starting off at an early game, 5:30, New Zealand versus Cairns. As I said, this is going to be a tough one for New Zealand to go into Cairns and get the victory. They're without an import, right? So
I think this is New Zealand's home game, right? The home team first in NBL,
sorry, yeah. My bad.
So I know it's been a while. You've been away. It's all for you, man.
My bad.
That's why it's the early game in New Zealand.
It's a 5:30 game. It's a 5:30
It is,
game.
yeah. Look, it's a big one for New Zealand, isn't it? I don't expect them to have this replacement import in time, unless you've heard anything different there. Obviously, we've got to see guys like Lamb settle in now. He's had a couple of good games and a couple of quiet games since he's been there. But I like Finn Delaney. He's improved a little bit these last couple of games and finding some form. So I'd say New Zealand will win this one, but I think it could be competitive, though, against your second team.
Pat Miller's obviously battling that injury.
That was a tough fall, wasn't it?
So if he's doubtful for that game. So if he's not playing, I think that New Zealand should get the victory there, right?
Yeah.
So I think they'll be welcoming back Taj. So yeah. All right, Illawarra versus Sydney. I know Jimmy asked me to come down and to watch the game with him this Friday, but obviously after being away for a month, I don't think Rachel would be too happy with me making a road trip a few days later. But it should be a good game. The Highway Series, as they call it, right? So can Illawarra upset Sydney on their home floor?
It feels like they played the first game of the year, didn't they? I think they played actually on your party that night in Illawarra as well. So strange, isn't it? So look, it's unusual you see 2 losses in a row for the Kings there. I'm going to say 3 losses in a row for the Kings. I'm going to say Illawarra pull out a sneaky upset in this game.
I can't see that happening. Anyway, let's move on. Tasmania versus Brisbane. All right, what do you got?
I think Tasmania will get back on track with this one. Again, losing those 2 games last week after such a good start, they'll be hungry, back in front of their home crowd. And, Brisbane have had a few games and sort of backing up from that Thursday game. So, I'd say Tassie. Tassie might maybe about 10, I'd say, in this game.
Look, fair call. So you're calling Brisbane to lose 2 after they've just won the 2 on the trial?
I am, yeah, I am. And that's what this league's like, right? There's so many competitive teams now. It's you can't have an off day, otherwise you're going to lose, whether it's on your home court or whatever happens here. But it's what we love about this NBL 23-24 season.
Hey, so really quickly, while we're on Tasmania, Will Magnay, is he done, man?
Who?
Is he done?
Every week I sort of see him on the bench and I'm like, wow, Will Magnay, that guy was playing, 10-day contracts in the NBA like 2 or 3 seasons ago, right? So, look, if they...
Two-way deal, man, with New Orleans,
Yeah,
right?
New Orleans, yeah. Look, if they could get him back, that's a huge coup there. I mean, he's got so much potential there, but he just can't seem to stay healthy. So I wish him all the best. I'd love to see him out there. I know obviously his time with the Wildcats didn't quite, eventuate how probably he hoped it would and how the fans hoped it would as well. But yeah, I'm hoping he does get back and he can play a role with this team because him and Marcus Lee is a pretty formidable inside combo there if they can get going.
For sure, and Marcus Lee, as good as he's been, he struggles with fouls, right? So
he wants that extra 6 foul, doesn't he? He wants the NBA rules, give him an extra foul a game, right?
So you bring another a 5-man who's an NBA quality 5-man at one point in Will Magnay. It's only going to help that Jack Jumpers team going forward, right? But I'm unsure if he'll ever play again. I've got this thought in my head. Is he ever going to come back and play again properly? Or
you never know. Hey, Wood, shout out to Jordan Crawford as well. He's become a must-watch player in the NBL, hasn't he? I love watching Tassie games and just seeing the way that guy goes about it. He's really good to watch.
Sure. Shades of a young Jerome Randall, potentially, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Okay. Perth Wildcats, Adelaide 36ers. Surely, man. Surely you guys can get Adelaide, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought last week they had to win that game. There was no way they didn't, and they got belted. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a lot of pressure on them this week. Adelaide beat them a couple of weeks ago on Adelaide's home floor. Adelaide's won, 3 out of their last 4, and we've lost 4 in a row. So, I mean, look, I have to say Perth, but very little confidence that they'll get it done. What are your thoughts?
I think Bryce Cotton is going to have a bounce-back week. So, I mean, I know a lot of people have dropped him from their Supercoach teams, but I would be putting him back in your team, right? Because I think you've got desire here to actually prove all the naysayers wrong. And I think he's going to have a big weekend. So I'm going to go with Perth, right?
Fair call, yeah.
Southeast Melbourne and Cairns on Sunday as well. So we got,
mate, I'm really liking this Southeast Melbourne team at the moment. So I'm going to sort of keep picking them and ride that sort of win streak there. So I'd say the Phoenix will win that one.
Okay, they're going to be on a roll if they win these 2 games, as you predict, right?
Huge, yeah.
Now I'm going to get out to my first game of the season, Sydney versus New Zealand. I'm obviously going to be backing Sydney in that game. You've already got them losing the first game of the round against Illawarra, can they? Yeah,
I think they'll bounce back in the grand final rematch there. There should be a good game, shouldn't it? They've had some good Sunday afternoon games. I know it's probably not your preferred time there. I know you like those Saturday night games. And look, they don't have many, do they? I think they might have a Friday night game coming up soon, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, a pretty common Sunday afternoon game now. But yeah, I'll say Sydney. And yeah, enjoy your first trip for the season, mate.
Yeah,
will you be getting one of the Indigenous jerseys? They'll actually look pretty good, the Kings ones, I thought.
Definitely.
And maybe a Bolden one, surely, right?
Yeah, I think that's the next jersey. I wanted to get a Bolden one for sure.
Yeah,
so, that's going to be.
I was keen to get a Pinder, Indigenous one. I thought that'd sort of go well as well with the Wildcats, but I'm not going to buy one until they win. So yeah,
I'm going to get a Pinder and a Bolden jersey. I'd love both those 2 throwback names.
Yeah, 100%.
On the back of their father's team's jerseys. That'd be awesome, right?
Big time, right?
All right, final game of the season. We've got a Monday night game coming back, which is nice, right?
It's the first one, I think, isn't it? And then they don't have another one for quite a few rounds. So it's interesting. Melbourne against Perth there. Look at that. Melbourne just wins all across the board there. They are stacked there. I mean, they were going so well. I'd actually forgotten about JLA, and he's come back and he's playing angry Woods. Have you noticed that? He's coming back and he's firing up at people and he's, protecting the rim and he's putting up shots and everything. So we've seen a very motivated Joe Lual-Achul there. Look, shout out to Luke Travis as well. I mean, not a lot of people are mentioning him. He really has been good. I mean, imagine the Wildcats had him this year. They probably wouldn't have gone for someone like Jordan Usher, and they would have got a more of a need big man sort of position there. But no, shout out. He's been really good. Huck Porty against Saar should be good in this game. If the two next stars get to match up against each other. Look, as much as I will pick Perth to win that game on Saturday night, I'm certainly not picking him to win this one. And I'll say New Zealand get the W in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you mentioned JLA and Huck Porty as well on that Melbourne United roster. You've got 2 guys, NBA level guys.
Yeah.
One starting, one coming off the bench.
And Delhi's back as well this week, right?
I think he would be. I think. I mean, they could take a bit of a cautious approach with him here because they're winning. They're on top of the ladder. They could give him another week's rest. I know I think he's been cleared to play. Let's see how that plays out, right?
Hey, maybe Shea Ili and Bryce Cotton will have a competition to see who can actually miss the most shots in that game because both of them have got horrendous field goal percentages this year. So
Shea's been doing some really good things in the absence of Ian Clark and Matthew Dellavedova.
And Ian Clark as well, Woods. Yeah. He's gone up a level, I reckon, this year. He's having probably his best year. He didn't get a lot of time in Adelaide. He's probably looking better than he was that time with Sydney there. But he's an underrated defender. And every time he shoots it, I think it's going in as well. So I really like watching Ian Clark, actually.
Well, he's been injured a little bit as well this year.
He has.
So I mean, he's in that starting role. Ili's coming off the bench, and Clark and Dellavedova in that backcourt is a formidable backcourt, right?
For sure.
Formidable roster, as you spoke of. Right?
Really is, yeah.
All right, man. I thought we'd give Classic Packs a bit of a miss today. I think we just coming back, getting into the swing of things. I haven't lost my job, right? You did it last week and everything, and Mookie did it.
Look, there was a little bit of doubt, but I think you've handled yourself pretty well this week. But yeah, big shout out to those special guests. We started off with Jacinta, we then had Nath, we then had Mookie, and then we then had Stu. So all four of them, great friends of ours, Woods, and they just did a great job filling in. It was a pleasure, sort of, hosting or co-hosting those shows with them. But no, it's awesome to have you back.
Thanks,
I've missed you. I've probably called you about 3 times today about various things there. So great to have you back. I think we're going to catch up on Saturday night for a bit of a feed. Looking forward to keep bringing these. And what did you say at the start of the show? What episode is this?
93.
93. So that's actually, I'm not that good at maths, but that's kind of getting close to 100 now, right?
Yeah, we're going to do something special for the 100th episode. Maybe we bring Lala back on, man. Super producer for that 100th episode who was with us from the start.
Yeah, we could do something like that. Yeah.
I mean, let's think about it. Do something special.
Yeah,
we look
we'll
back
do something
at some
good.
fond memories or something like that from 100 episodes.
Good call. Yeah.
All right, man. So take it out. Let the audience know a little bit about where we can be found and all that, right?
Absolutely, man. So look, please make sure you subscribe, leave a comment on YouTube there. If you're listening to the audio, we can be found where all audio podcasts are found. Give us a follow on Twitter. We're at Throwbacks Hoops. Some people call it X. We still call it Twitter. Instagram, we're throwback.hoops. And, of course, our email, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. I should say, Woods, if you want to see some more random jerseys, like this Andray Blatche one that I'm rocking now, send us some emails. Hit us up on socials there. See who, give a request there. We've more than likely got one of those random jerseys there. And we'll keep giving the people what they ask for, right?
For sure, man. And I was thinking, man, since you give all this jazz anyway at the end of the episode, you spoke about Patreon last week. Why don't you just do that from now on as well? You might as well do it all in one hit. So
sounds good, mate. You're trying to get some time off here, anyway. No, absolutely. So, look, if you're able to pledge some support on Patreon there, just a couple of dollars a month would really help us there. There's quite a lot of costs that go into putting this show together. Probably people don't realise that, but it probably costs us maybe $80 or $90 a month, I'd say, to be putting this out there. And we don't do this for money or anything like that, but if anyone's a regular listener, they want to just chuck us a couple of bucks there, we'd appreciate that. Go to patreon.com/throwbackhoops. If you've got any questions about how to do that, just reach out to us. But and also I should say as well, Woods, we do have some special guests lined up. We've got, I won't tell you too much, but an NBL legend. This name is a legend in the coaching ranks. Also soon to be named into a certain Hall of Fame. So probably giving it too many clues away there. But we're going to be getting him on soon. And we've got some other special guests lined up as well. So I can't wait to bring those in the weeks forward.
We do indeed. Any final thoughts?
Can Perth please get a win this weekend? Honestly, I went to bed in the most grumpy, bad mood ever after that game on Brisbane. I pretty much turned the TV on, threw the remote down, nearly kicked the cat, but I didn't, of course, because you wouldn't do that to an animal, and went to bed. I was just grumpy. I just laid there trying to sleep in a grumpy mood. So please get the win against Adelaide this week and get back on track.
Yeah, it's great to be back in the chair. Hopefully both our teams get some victories this weekend from Robbie and I and the whole crew at Throwback Hoops. See you next week. Peace out.